Have you ever had one of those days where everything that could possibly go wrong does? Now imagine that's not just your day, that's your entire life. Welcome to the world of Tom, a man so unlucky that when he tries to do something good, the universe personally steps in to make sure it backfires in the most spectacular way possible. He's shy, he's sweet, he's hopeless with women, and naturally, he's gone and fallen in love with the most beautiful girl in his orbit, his terrifying boss's daughter. Buckle up, because this is the kind of love story where nothing goes right, yet somehow everything ends perfectly. Our story kicks off at a train station, where a man is sprinting like his life depends on it, desperately trying to catch a moving train. He almost makes it, because the doors lock just as he reaches them, and his suitcase ends up trapped inside. Stranded man, zero suitcase. Inside the train, two friends named Tom and Paul are sitting comfortably, both heading to work at the same company. Tom notices the abandoned suitcase and, being the decent guy he is, decides to hold on to it so he can return it to its owner next time. Now right here, this small act of kindness should have been a perfectly simple thing. But this is Tom we're talking about, and nothing in Tom's life is ever simple. Tom is the kind of guy who blushes saying hello to a woman. He's never successfully asked a girl out, not once, because the moment he gets near one, his body stages a complete revolt. His confidence doesn't just leave the room, it books a flight to another country. Now here's the cruel twist of fate. Sitting in the same train compartment is Lisa, his boss's beautiful daughter, the one girl Tom has been silently, hopelessly in love with for as long as he can remember. He has never once found the courage to even say good morning to her properly. Paul, being the kind of friend who finds your suffering entertaining, nudges Tom and tells him this is his moment. Go talk to her, now, or spend the rest of your life explaining to people why you're still single at 30. Tom takes a deep breath, summons every ounce of courage he owns, and walks over. But of course, there's a woman sitting right between them with her two very energetic children. And just as Tom opens his mouth to say something charming, the train lurches. And the resulting scene is about as far from charming as humanly possible. Tom's confidence, already fragile, takes another hit. Does he give up? No. Credit where it's due. Tom tries again. He moves closer, clears his throat, and that's precisely when the suitcase he's been holding decides to pop open on its own. And what spills out? A collection of adult magazines, right there, in front of Lisa. The look on her face says it all. She's clearly filed Tom under definitely not normal. Tom's introduction to the girl of his dreams could not have gone worse if he'd actually planned it to. They all arrive at the office, and Paul does his best to put a positive spin on the disaster, telling Tom not to be embarrassed and that better opportunities will come. Before Tom can recover fully, a staff member named Andre walks up and tells him that the boss wants to see him immediately in his chamber. Now the boss, whose name is Jack, is not what you'd call a warm and fuzzy person. Jack is the kind of boss who treats every minor mistake like a capital offense. The entire office walks on eggshells around him daily, and everyone knows that getting called into his chamber is rarely a good sign. Tom walks in, and Jack tells him he's heard Tom has been thinking about some new ideas and wants to know what they are. Right at that moment, Andre enters to serve coffee, and it is terrible. Bitterly, aggressively bad. Jack and Tom both react to it with barely concealed disgust. Jack turns to Tom and asks what he thinks should be done about Andre. Tom, meaning to speak in general terms about how small operational errors can drag a company down, starts giving an example. But before he can explain that it's just a hypothetical, Jack has already heard enough. He calls Andre back in and fires her on the spot. Tom watches in silent horror, knowing he essentially just cost someone their job by accident. Add it to the list. Tom walks out of the chamber, and almost immediately Lisa appears beside him. She tells him to come to her house that evening because she needs to go somewhere. Tom's heart leaps. He thinks this is it. She's inviting him out. But no. Lisa explains she needs someone to watch the house while she attends a party, and she'll handle getting her dad to agree. Tom's excitement deflates like a punctured balloon, but he agrees anyway. Any reason to spend time near Lisa is a reason. That evening, Tom arrives at the house and meets Jack, who briefs him thoroughly. The house will be empty tonight. Jack is heading out for work, and Lisa is going to a party. Tom's one job is to watch the house carefully. And then comes the most important briefing of all. Jack has a pet owl that he absolutely adores. The owl eats mice, and Tom must feed it at exactly the right time. Jack makes one thing crystal clear. If anything happens to that owl, Tom's employment ends immediately. No discussion, no second chances. Tom nods solemnly. He can handle this, surely. After Jack leaves, Tom settles into the house and happens to come across some CDs. One of them turns out to be a video of Lisa at the beach, wearing very little, looking absolutely stunning. Tom is watching with considerable focus when a young man suddenly walks in. His name is Red, and he is, awkwardly, Jack's older son, the one Jack kicked out of the house some time ago. Red spotted the empty house and decided to drop in for a bit. Tom explains he's from the office and is here just for house duty tonight. The two of them start chatting, and the situation is already more complicated than Tom bargained for. Then, as if the universe enjoys watching Tom suffer, Andre also shows up at the door. She's come to plead with the boss to give her job back, but she finds Tom instead. She's surprised to see him, and Tom explains his situation. Before long, Andre's ex-boyfriend also arrives, and within minutes, he and Andre are having a full-blown argument right there in the living room. Tom runs interference, desperately begging them to keep it down, because if the boss finds out the house became a battlefield, Tom won't survive it. In the middle of the chaos, the owl suddenly starts choking on something. Tom rushes over, panics completely, and in his haste ends up giving the owl toilet water to drink. It works. The owl is fine. But the method is something Tom will probably never mention again. Lisa calls during all of this to let Tom know she's leaving the party early and that he can head home if he wants. Tom, fully aware of what the house looks like right now, tells her there's no rush and that he'll stay until she gets back. He's going to need every available minute to restore this place to normal. Then comes the owl's feeding time. Jack had left a box of mice for this exact purpose. Tom reaches for the box and drops it. Mice scatter in every direction across the floor. Tom chases them desperately, manages to grab one and holds it up in triumph, just as the owl comes swooping in, snatches the mouse from his hand, and flies straight out of the house. The owl is gone. Tom races outside to find it, follows the trail into the neighboring yard, and immediately runs into an elderly man who points a gun at him and demands to know what he thinks he's doing on his property. Tom explains with escalating urgency that he's just a housekeeper looking for a runaway bird. The old man is skeptical, but lets him go. Tom returns to find that Andre, in his absence, has invited a crowd of her friends over and turned the house into an impromptu gathering. Tom grabs Andre and tells her in no uncertain terms that if she wants to help him keep his job, she and her friends need to help find the owl. Meanwhile, one of the escaped mice darts directly into Lisa's bag. Tom spots it and tries to fish it out subtly, but the mouse tunnels straight into his pants instead. Of all the moments for Lisa to walk in, she picks this one. Tom tries to explain, "There's a mouse in my trousers. I promise this is not what it looks like." And Lisa, remarkably, believes him. After the mouse chaos is resolved, the mouse eventually escaping into Lisa's room before vanishing entirely, Lisa actually warms up to Tom. They sit together with drinks, and something genuinely nice happens between them. Lisa had gotten the wrong impression about Tom from the magazine incident on the train and had been assuming, somewhat cheerfully, that he simply wasn't interested in women. With that assumption in place, she puts on music and dances freely in front of him, completely relaxed. Tom, charmed and a little confused, joins in. Then Lisa puts on something slower and more romantic, and the mood shifts. When Tom's words make it abundantly clear he is very much a regular man with very normal interests in women, Lisa goes red. Tom handles it gracefully, tells her misunderstandings happen, and that what matters between two people is trust. He also, in his nervous and roundabout way, tells her she's a genuinely good person. He's never once seen her be rude to anyone at the office. Lisa likes this very much. They lean toward each other and kiss, and it is actually going beautifully, right up until Tom's brain reminds him the owl is still missing. He excuses himself and steps into the hall. In the hallway, a large young man is waiting. He introduces himself as Hans, Lisa's ex-boyfriend, and informs Tom, with the melodrama of someone who's seen too many films, that since Lisa broke up with him, he's considering ending his life right in front of her. Tom, not wanting a suicide scene added to tonight's list of disasters, quickly tells Hans that Lisa isn't home and steers him away. Seconds later, Tom spots the owl flying past. He chases it into a neighboring house, where an unsuspecting family is expecting a young man named Albert who has come to meet their daughter. They take one look at Tom and assume he's Albert. Tom tries to explain. They don't listen. They're already presenting their daughter. Tom insists, louder this time, that his name is Tom and he is here for a bird, not a bride. They throw him out, offended. Outside, Andre pulls Tom aside and mentions that she and one of her friends have been experiencing numbness on the left side of their upper bodies and thinks Tom should check them out. Tom, running entirely on adrenaline at this point, tells her to see a real doctor. But Andre and her friend insist, and before Tom can push back, Lisa comes out and finds Tom in a very compromising-looking situation. She does not take it well. She tells him exactly what she thinks of men in general, and specifically instructs him to leave her house immediately. Tom wants to leave, he really does, but he knows the state the house is in, and he simply cannot let Jack come home to this. He stays. Then things get genuinely alarming. Tom discovers a man crouched near the safe, trying to open it. Tom grabs the gun he'd picked up from the neighbor earlier and points it at him. The man doesn't even flinch. He introduces himself as TJ and explains calmly that Red hid something valuable of his in this house, and he just wants it back. Jack calls at that exact moment to check on things. Tom tells him everything is perfectly fine, using the kind of forced cheerfulness that makes it sound like the opposite. TJ, just to be unpleasant, proceeds to relieve himself throughout the house, while Tom watches in stunned, helpless fury. Tom has had enough. He teams up with Andre and slips knockout pills into TJ's drink. TJ takes a few sips and shortly after crashes to the floor. Problem solved, or so Tom thinks, but they've overdosed him and TJ starts convulsing horribly. Tom panics. He gathers everyone and asks what they should do now. The group's consensus, delivered with alarming casualness, is that if he dies, they'll just bury him in the garden and nobody will ever know. Tom watches in disbelief as they carry TJ outside and start digging. Tom protests furiously, asking what they'll do if there's still life in him. Andre's boyfriend waves off the concern and says the man was not a good person anyway. Then Lisa comes out and finds Tom standing over what appears to be an active burial. She stares. Tom starts to explain. Before he can, TJ wakes up, bursts out of the ground, and grabs Lisa. The entire group screams. Tom doesn't run. For the first time all night, he stands completely still, looks TJ in the eye, and tells him that if he needs to shoot someone, he should shoot him. Let Lisa go. Red comes up from behind and knocks him out cold. Everyone exhales. Lisa looks at Tom differently now. A man named Daryl then arrives, claiming to be the boss's man, and tells Tom that Jack needs to be picked up from the station. Tom leaves immediately. Back in the house, Lisa rallies everyone, Andre, Red, and the rest, and they work together to put everything back in order. Andre and her boyfriend quietly patch things up in the process. Daryl, however, quietly reveals himself to be TJ's accomplice by hurling a bag onto the roof of the house as the cleanup continues, apparently hiding something. Tom is driving Jack home when the owl, still loose, swoops directly into the car. The car swerves wildly. Jack fights for control. Police who had already arrived earlier due to a tip about drug activity on the premises start asking questions. Jack, surveying the wreckage of his home, points directly at Tom and declares that he entrusted Tom with this house, and Tom is clearly responsible for all of it. Then, Red steps forward. He tells the police, clearly and without hesitation, that he is Jack's son and that he had arranged to sell 3 kilograms of drugs through this house. But he changed his mind before it could happen and flushed everything down the toilet after his father left. Tom had nothing to do with any of it. The police arrest Tom anyway on Jack's instruction. Jack is still furious and not yet listening to reason. The next morning, Jack is searching for his owl and spots it perched on the roof. He climbs the nearby tree to reach it, and through the window, overhears Red talking to Lisa inside. Red tells her plainly that he knows she has feelings for Tom, and that both she and their father have misjudged him completely. Tom spent the whole night trying to hold the house together against impossible circumstances, and failed not from carelessness, but because everything conspired against him. He is innocent. Red then says something that lands hard. Tom is genuinely a good person, and he wants Lisa to stay with him. Jack is hanging from a branch outside, listening to every word, and the weight of it settles over him. He has wrongly blamed an innocent man while his own son was the actual source of the chaos. Then the branch gives way, and Jack falls from the tree rather badly, landing in a way that injures some very sensitive parts of his anatomy. Despite the indignity of it all, Jack does the right thing. He gets Tom released from jail and sends Red to bring him home. Tom, the moment he's free, runs straight to Lisa and tells her, With all the clumsy sincerity he spent the entire movie struggling to express that he loves her. He also points out, not entirely without humor, that her own father had him thrown in a cell. Jack appears behind Tom at that exact moment, hears everything, and rather than getting angry, puts a hand on Tom's shoulder and tells him the misunderstanding is over. He can see that these two love each other, and that makes him happy. In the end, everything falls into place in the warmest way possible. Tom is promoted at the company and becomes everyone's superior, which is either beautifully poetic or quietly terrifying for his colleagues. Jack, having learned the hard way that snap judgments destroy more than they fix, stops firing people over small mistakes. And Tom and Lisa, the unluckiest man in the world, and the girl who finally saw through all of it, are together, genuinely happy. Because sometimes all it takes is one terrible night, one missing owl, one accidental burial, and one man brave enough to take a bullet for someone he loves to finally get the girl.